Alright, all we just need is Nevada to win.
What? Oh no! Oh no, Georgia! No, please! No, freedom!
You know, I've been playing Tannenberg recently, and one of my favorite units in the game is the Latvian Rifleman. It could be because it's an obscure unit, as I have an interest in something that's forgotten in history, especially in World War I. So with that, I'll tell the story of the Latvian Rifleman as part of World War I month, which throughout the entire month of November, I'll talk about anything related to World War I, in order to stop the Eagle offensive. The history of the Latvian Rifleman dates back to the 19th century. The modern borders of Eastern Europe we see today are split into three countries: the German Empire, Austria-Hungary, and the largest, the Russian Empire, with Latvia being a part of Russia. Although Russia was the least industrialized out of the three, at the turn of the century, Latvia experienced rapid industrialization, with Riga being the most industrialized in the entire empire. This rapid industrialization within the country led to a rise in nationalism as well as Bolshevism, and with the founding of the Latvian SD in 1904, Latvia became a center of Marxist activity. This gave the attention of Vladimir Lenin, who will later take over the party. Members of the Latvian SD took part in the Russian Revolution of 1905, which although ended in failure, resistance still continued until the start of the Great War. At the outbreak of the war, the Latvian people was immediately drafted into the Russian army to take part in the invasion of Prussia. It's important to note that although the Latvian people had some resentment towards Russia due to its policy of Russification during the reign of Alexander III, Germany was seen as a bigger threat to the Latvians, as Germany actively sought to resettle its population into the Baltic. Following the failed invasion and subsequent defeat at Tannenberg, units of the 20th Corps, consisting of mainly Latvians, were completely destroyed at the Gustav Forest in late February. With the German army at Riga's doorsteps, Jānis Goldmanis requested the Tsar to raise an all-Latvian unit, arguing that a unit consisting of Latvians would be effective against the advancing Germans, as they were willing to fight for their homeland. With the Tsar's approval, on July 1915, the Latvian Rifleman was formed. Now for equipment. As part of the Russian Empire, the Latvian Riflemen were supposed to be equipped with the standard Mosin-Nagant rifle, but manufacturing problems led to the gun in constant short supply. To solve this, American companies were contracted to supply the guns, but was later cancelled due to the Russian Revolution. However, American-built Nagants were eventually sold into the Latvian army during its War of Independence. At the time being, the Latvians were mainly supplied with the Arisaka rifle, the Winchester 1895, and the Gewehr, captured from German soldiers. The French and British will later supply the Latvians with the Lebel and Lee Enfield during its War of Independence. Along with rifles, the Latvian riflemen were also armed with a variety of pistols, machine guns, grenades, and swords. After its formation, the Latvian riflemen were immediately sent into the front lines, in which they proved to be a formidable fighting force, especially when compared to the lackluster performance of Russian troops. Originally consisting of 8 battalions, the riflemen soon expanded to regiments, before eventually consisting of 2 brigades as the war progressed. The riflemen's determination can be demonstrated at the defense of Death Island, in which they faced intense gas attack, but due to negligence by the high command, many riflemen were not issued with gas masks, resulting in heavy losses. Despite this, they kept their ground until the relief by Russian forces. By far the most notable and costliest engagement was during the Christmas battles of 1916. Although the riflemen managed to break German fortifications, as well as advancing 30 kilometers during its initial phases, the battle was overall indecisive, and was a huge blow to the morale of the riflemen, suffering 9,000 casualties, which was 1/3 of the riflemen's strength during the engagement. From 1917 onwards, the Latvian riflemen continued to see service under the provisional government, but by this time, Russia was on the verge of collapse, and with the failure of the Kerensky offensive, the Germans continued to advance towards Riga. There, the Rifleman was able to hold off the Germans, preventing the entire city from being encircled, as well as letting the 12th Army to evacuate, which afterwards, the German army captured Riga in September 1917. The Bolshevik takeover of Russia in November 1917 led to the unit disbanded. But it wasn't the end of the Riflemen, as during the Russian Civil War, it was reorganized as the Red Latvian Riflemen under the Bolsheviks, with some who are not into Marxism joining the White Army. Those who stayed made up the bulk of the Latvian army during the War of Independence. The Latvian Rifleman was finally disbanded in 1920, following the independence of Latvia. In total, about 40,000 soldiers served under the Latvian Rifleman. In conclusion, the Latvian Rifleman was considered to be one of Russia's best units during World War I, and even after its collapse, the Rifleman was still used under the Red Army as a way to instill Marxist propaganda within the Latvian population. Despite its connections to Lenin, the Latvian Rifleman played a role in the formation of Latvia, which is still remembered by the Latvian people as a symbol of its independence. Now I told you the history of the Latvian Rifleman, I'm going to play some Tannenberg.